So we're going to start looking at Robocode. So at this point, you've done some basic applications. You've created some threads. You understand inheritance. You understand how to use APIs. We're going to use a different library, and we're going to use Robocode. So what Robocode is it's a robot battle simulator, a robot tank battle simulator. And there are competitions and coding tournaments around the world. It's all virtual and it's coded in Java. So just to give you an idea of what we're going to be coding, this is what the tank looks like, or the virtual tank. So it's got a body, a gun that can rotate around, and radar that can also rotate around that you can use to kind of zoom in on other robots. So let's look at a sample battle. So if you're running Robocode, new, you're going to have to add some robots to your battle before you start. Robocode comes with some basic sample robots. So we're going to add corners, we'll add target, we'll add spinbot, and you can add as many robots as you'd like. And then you can set the rules for the battle. By default, it's 10 rounds. You can switch that to 5, or however many you'd like. And you can also set the size of the battlefield. We're going to go with a small one. Okay, and then over here, what you can actually do is set the speed of which the battle actually goes. So we can stop, restart, and then you can see a little more in depth. And you can slow it right down if you'd like. We're going to go a little faster than that. See how our robots do, and then we have a log here. Okay, it shows the energy, the life of the robots as it's going. Now, at the end of this, let's make this go crazy fast. It'll give you a results for 5 rounds and tell you the total score and who won. So in this case, the spinbot ended up winning. We can save that result, or we can just click OK. The other thing we can do is take a look, and there's a lot of information on the RoboWiki. .net. You can search for Robocode and find it. There will be a link on the e-learning site on where you can install it if you want to install it at home. But here's the scoring breakdown. So total score, survival mode, last survivor bonus, bullet damage, and something to note here is that you don't just get big points for being the last survivor. There are some points for that, but the point is to inflict damage on the other robots. So the other thing that comes with Robocode is the ability to edit a robot. It comes with a source editor. So we can create a new robot. Oops. And you can see we actually have a Java editor. Public class blah sample extends robot. And we can actually code and compile our robots in here. The other thing we can do is actually use NetBeans or Eclipse to code our robots. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Under the tools in NetBeans, you're going to click on libraries, and you can take a look and see if someone else has done it already on your NetBeans. And mine, there is a Robocode library, so I'm going to remove that. So these are all the libraries available with Java by default. We're going to create a new library. We have to give it a name. The appropriate name would be Robocode. And then you're going to add a jar folder, and jar are just compiled classes of Java code compressed and packaged together. Now I'm doing this on my laptop, so I'm going to look under C drive /robocode, /libs, which is short for libraries. And I'm going to add this Robocode library to my libraries. If you're doing this at school, I'll post on the e-learning site exactly the path that you're going to use to find the Robocode library. So I'm going to click OK. I'm ready to create a new project now. Now, as opposed to creating a Java application, which we've been doing, we're going to go back to Java class library, and the reason for that is Java application by default creates a main function. So it creates a main class because it's going to be its own program that's run directly. The robots that we create will be run from inside another Java program. So we're going to create a Java class library. We're going to make sure that we save it to my projects. And I'm going to call this one Sasevich Robot. Okay, now we have two things to add to our project now. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new Java class file. Again, I'm going to call it Sasevich Robot. And then the other thing we have to do to our libraries here is we're going to have to add a library because by default we don't have the Robocode library. So I'm going to add that library to this project, and so now it's available. So now what I can do is I can, just like we did inheritance with our JFrame class, I can extend robot. It's going to give me a suggestion to import robot. Be careful you don't import java.awt.robot, which is something else. We want to import robocode.robot. And then we can create a constructor. And since the robot is going to be running inside another program, it's actually, the robots themselves are threads. So we are going to do public void run, just like our timer. And this is where your robot's actually going to do things when it's called upon by the Robocode battle program. So we're ready to start coding our first program, our first robot. So what I can do is I can say while true, because I just want this to loop forever while the robot is running, and we can start issuing commands to our robot. So this dot ahead, and it takes a number of pixels to move ahead. I'm going to also out.println print a message. Sasevich is on the move. And this is very similar to if you look on the Robocode tutorials, there's a first robot tutorial. I can turn both my gun turret and my radar to try and detect a robot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my radar to the right and ask for a number of degrees. So I'm going to say 180 degrees, which will turn it to the right 180 degrees. And it also kind of works similar to our key listeners and most listeners in that there's an event handler on scanned robot, which, as you can imagine, gets called when my robot's radar actually scans another robot. I'm going to have to add an import for the scan robot. Okay. Now, you got to remember this is where you're going to do some strategy. I'll post a bunch of links to tutorials for you guys to take a look at, and we will have a class battle and possibly some prizes for the winner. But you got to keep in mind where your radar is facing. So while my program is running, I've got my radar turned 180 degrees. So at this point, my robot might not, my radar might not be facing the same direction as my gun. So I should add a line of code here to make sure my gun turns the same way as my radar. And then so what I'm going to do when I scan a robot is I'm just going to say fire 1. So my fire, every time it's just going to move ahead 100. I'm going to fire 1 bullet. So my robot will probably, if I think strategy, get stuck in a wall pretty fast and just fire randomly. So at this point I can compile my robot, and then to get him into battle, what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to, under preferences, go development options. I'm going to have to add a robot. You can see here using an external IDE. You may enter the class path to those robots here, and you can do so in Eclipse too. I'm just showing you NetBeans. So I'm going to add. I'm going to navigate to wherever I have that robot, which in my case was my projects, Sasevich robot. And I want the build directory, classes, open, finish. So now what I can do is I can start a new battle, and you'll see at the bottom here, and if you don't see it right away, you can go Control R to refresh, but under all, you'll see Sasevich robot. So I'm going to add Sasevich, actually I'm going to remove all. I'm going to add the Sasevich robot. I'm going to put him against the target robot. I'm going to start my battle, slow it down to enjoy my victory. Oh, apparently I lost. Okay, so Sasevich robot did terribly on that one. Hopefully your robots do better. Good luck.